Cool, thank you. Hi, everyone. I will call this meeting to order at 4:16 p.m. The Halifax Regional Municipality is located in Mi'kma'ki, the ancestral and traditional lands of the Mi'kmaq people. The municipality acknowledges the peace and friendship treaties signed in this territory and recognizes that we are all treaty people. We will start today's meeting with a roll call and a V check. When I call your name, I would just ask that everybody checks your mic and video, although I think we were chatty before, so we'll maybe check that, but we'll check it again. So first up, Councillor Trish Purdy.
Hello, everyone.
Hi.
And apologies again. Thank you.
All good. All good. I'm going to skip over Glenn because I believe that he's not here right now. Anne Sinclair.
Hi, this is Anne.
Thank you. Jamil Sino.
Hello.
Thank you. Oliver Keith.
Hello.
Thank you. Perfect timing, Nick, as you are next on the list.
Hello, everyone.
Hello. Perfect. And Glenn is just about to be let into the meeting. So then we have quorum. We're good to go. We will keep on moving along. Celine is going to be joining late. And we have regrets from Councillor Laura White and Councillor Jean Saint-Amand and Kathy Stevenson. Okay, so I will now ask if there are any errors or omissions for the minutes of October 20. Oh yes, we're doing 3 separate minutes right now, so keep this in mind. If there are any errors or omissions for the minutes of October 20th, the special meeting, October 29th, and then the town hall, November 5th meetings. If there are none, I'll invite a member to move the following: that the minutes of October 20th, October 29th, and November 25th, 2025 of the Accessibility Advisory Committee be approved as presented. I need a mover and a seconder, or some errors or changes.
I'll move.
Great, thank you, Jamil. And I see Oliver seconding. Perfect. Okay, I will call for the question. All those in favor say aye or raise hands.
Hi.
Hi.
Great. Thank you. And all those opposed say nay or raise hands. Seeing none, the motion has been carried. All right, we will now move on to the approval of the order of business for today's agenda. To our legislative assistant, are there any changes to today's agenda?
There are no changes to today's agenda.
Perfect, thank you. So now I will invite a member of the committee to move the following motion: that the agenda be approved as presented, and this also requires a mover and seconder.
So moved.
Cool, thank you, Trish. And another second from Oliver, I saw that. All right, I will call for the question. All those in favor say aye or raise hands.
Hi.
Hi.
Great, thank you. That seemed unanimous, but just in case, all those opposed say nay or raise hands. Cool. All right. The motion has been carried. Okay, business arising out of minutes. We have no business arising out of minutes. I will now ask if anyone has a conflict of interest to declare as a result of an item on today's agenda. Oh, and I see your hand up. Is that, I assume it's not for a conflict of interest because I think it came up before, but do you have a question?
Yes, thank you. No, it's a question. It's a procedure question. I don't know if it has to do with business arising out of the minutes, but on the 20th of October, when we had Max Chauvin, it was, the minutes say that we expressed interest in having some input from the province on housing. And I just wondered what happens with that? Like, is that like, does that go to staff and then it gets arranged, or do we need to keep asking about it?
Good question. I mean, and I will say we have talked about it in like the pre-meeting. Nick and I have a meeting with Melissa and Elizabeth the week before these meetings to talk about the agenda. And we have brought it up. I forget what we talked about last. Elizabeth, do you remember what we talked about in the last meeting?
I do. So I had get in contact with Max Chauvin, and he had provided me some contacts with the province. And that's something we had discussed at the agenda review.
That's what it's called.
The only thing was we wanted to go back, and that's something I actually had said I would do, go back in the meeting just to review what the specific questions and concerns were that committee members had expressed. I just happened to have a very busy week last week. I haven't gotten that info to Rochelle and Nick yet, but that is something that's in the works, in short. Hope that answers your question.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Perfect. Okay, so it sounds like there's no conflict of interest, but just in case, I'll ask again, does anyone have a conflict of interest as a result of an item on today's agenda? I'm seeing none. All right, moving on. So to our clerk, has any correspondence been received?
No correspondence has been received, and we have not received any petitions.
Great. There are no presentations that have been received. So we're moving on to, no information items brought forward. So we're moving on to 9.1.1, the proposed 2026 meeting schedule. So you may have seen in your agenda package for the week, there is a proposed meeting schedule for the 2026 year of the Accessibility Advisory Committee meetings. And so that was circulated, but feel free to take another look right now. Yeah, it's generally the third Monday of the month, except for times where it can't be because there's a thing on the third Monday. So then it usually gets moved to the second Monday unless something else happens. But yeah, if there's so have a look. And if there's any questions about it now, Elizabeth can answer that. So I'll just leave that for a second and see if anyone has any things they need to say. There's no speakers list for this. You could just, if you have a question, if you have something to say, feel free to just say it.
I can also share my screen if that would be helpful.
Sure.
Just 1 second.
Let's do it.
Yeah, that should that work.
Cool. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So that is the proposed schedule. There's a little note there, third Monday of the month when possible. I don't think any like conferences or major events actually impacted these. So I think every month it's pretty consistently is the third Monday.
Sweet. Love that. And there's no meeting in July. There usually isn't a meeting in July unless we need it. I think lots of people are away sometimes. Same with December. Like it's a hard one to meet during. For as long as I've been on this committee, there's been no meetings in December, if I recall correctly. Although I could be misremembering, so take that with a grain of salt. But yeah, any questions, comments, things to say? Okay, I'm seeing none. So with that being said, we need a motion, a mover and a seconder for this. So the motion is that the Accessibility Advisory Committee approve the proposed 2026 Accessibility Advisory Committee meeting schedule as outlined in the staff memorandum. So I need a mover and a seconder for that. I'm seeing Jamil for the mover and the seconder. Oh, Oliver, great. I'm just like poking around my screen. Perfect. Okay, I will call for the question. All those in favor say aye or raise hands.
Aye.
Aye.
Great, thank you. And all those in favor, or all those opposed say nay or raise hands. Looking like we are unanimous, so the motion has been carried. Our new schedule, hooray. Okay, moving on to this is the meaty part, I think. 9.1.2 is the annual town hall discussion. So essentially, this is the debrief. We're going to talk about how we think the town hall went. We sent out a handful, well, 3 questions. And the questions generally were like, what did you like? What did you not like? What could be changed for next year, if anything? So the plan is just to go through the list. So actually, Elizabeth, if it's something easy and quick for you to do, hi Celine, then maybe will you just throw the questions into the chat just so folks can have a visual of them? Perfect, cool,
Yeah.
Awesome, thank you. Yeah, so but essentially it's what did you like, what did you not like, what changes do you think could be made for next year's town hall? We're going to go through the list to start, and then we'll see the speakers list to start, and then we'll see if anything else comes up afterwards. If folks want to speak again. But this is like fairly informal, just your thoughts. I also, Councillor White and Councillor Saitama wrote some nice like long answers in an email. So I summarized them because there were some things that were similar, and I thought we could also throw them in here. So once it's my turn on the speaking list, I'll just summarize what the counselor said in case folks didn't have a chance to read it. But let's start with Oliver Keith is first on the list.
Thank you, Rochelle. So, starting with the first question, I thought it went really well. I thought the turnout was great. I thought the questions were very insightful from my view. I thought everyone was really engaged, which is always great to see. I also thought some of like the smaller details were really well done. I think the food, which was my station, was very popular with a lot of people, which I think always helps kind of just build a positive tone, especially afterwards when people have to have like further discussions. It's nice to have some cheese on hand. What are some other highlights that came to mind? I think our selection of panelists was pretty good. I think they were very diverse. In terms of the second question, I think some of the answers were somewhat limited. And I also think in terms of the question themes, there were a lot of kind of themes covered, which might just be a consequence of the questions asked. But I also found that this might not be a consequence of our own, but the table where you would submit a question to be anonymous was at the front of the room. So if a question arises in your mind, you have to walk to the front of the room and submit your question. And at that point, is it really that anonymous? At least I wouldn't feel that way. So perhaps next year, placing that in a different location, and I guess this kind of trickles into question 3, might be helpful. Also, the addition of more cutlery for the food station. Yeah, the spoons and the cheese situation we were struggling with, which might be helpful next year. I also agree that more time for the Q&A is always more helpful. I think that's kind of the meat of why everyone's there. And so that is really great. And those are really my like dominant questions off the top of my head right now. I think the main one is just from my view, the food section could be updated a bit, but other than that, the food itself was great. And I think like the core of the town hall, like what we were trying to achieve was really well executed. So well done, everybody.
Yeah, thank you, Oliver. Agreed. Everyone in the chat agrees about the cheese. We love cheese here. I like that. Cool. Okay, next up is Counselor Trish Purdy.
Thank you. I thought it was a great town hall. I think it was my third, third, and I think it was the best one yet, actually. So that was really my big takeaway. It was really good. Yeah, the cheese was one of the highlights, quite honestly. But I agree with the comment on the question table, the anonymous question, because it was behind the panelists. So it's not really anonymous. So just the placement of that. I was wondering if we should have, I don't know, had the station tables out and about as opposed to behind the curtain for before. I don't know, just for mingling or agree to less panel talk, more Q&A with the audience. But I mean, it would be hard if everyone's mingling at the stages. I don't know what the perfect solution would be for that, quite honestly, because you'd have to get everyone to go back to their seats. So really, it would start earlier, or just have it longer at the front end for mingling, and then have it start for everyone to sit in their seats for the panel and Q&A, and then yeah. Anyway, it was the best one out of all the ones that I've been to. I really liked the afterwards where you could interact one-on-one with the employees, the staff at the tables that were already set up. And yeah, I guess I answered all three together. I guess maybe brainstorming ways next year to make it more interactive and less just the panelists speaking. Because I think we all learn more when it's actually a direct question being answered. So anyway, it was great. I thought it was really well done. So thanks, everyone.
Cool. Thank you. Thanks, Trish. Next up on the list is Celine.
You can hear me?
Yeah.
Okay,
great.
good.
Cool.
New computer. Out of all the months that I had to have this weird backdrop and stuff, I actually have a laptop to speak to you guys. Okay, so I do agree that having the Q&A table where it didn't give really much opportunity for even somebody to kind of come down and be discreet, because it is true you would have had to head behind the panel to get to us in order to have these filled out, you know, because I mean, we didn't receive one except for the end, and this was somebody from our committee. The one thing that, again, I want to emphasize is that while I understand that having one entrance and two small entrances, if we could have had, you know, kind of a half and half opening, so at the back, it would have actually at the back been a really good spot for the Q&A table. And the other thing too, some people don't really like confined spaces, and the Paula Regan Hall feels a whole lot that way with the smaller doors and stuff. And so let's say, for example, a subject is brought up and it's triggering, and when you're going to leave, it's going to be shown quite publicly, right? Like some people would probably have more ease leaving at the back, some other people. And also, again, having it so much more open to the public that people that weren't even planning to join us would join us. It would feel inviting of having the public come and discuss. The one thing for sure that I want to highlight about the booths, I'm really happy that this year that we had booths. I'm especially happy to have received the Accessibility Directorate, that they accepted my invitation and I got to speak to them one-on-one in person. This was probably the highlight of my night. The one thing that said is I still have trouble understanding why the booths were not in viewed areas. A lot of the times, especially the fact that we invite people to set up booths, to take that time to have things to give out, you know, handouts, etc. They were behind the curtain, and then we had a crowd who were sitting about a little board right before the panel started. That I really do believe that we would be better to have a before and after discussion, because again, this town hall is about reaching out to the public. It gives the opportunity for disabled advocates to meet new advocates as well, because that's another thing I'd like to stress, because I've managed to meet some great advocates in past town halls. And also on fact of courtesy, these are people who showed up at 5 o'clock and were not able to present themselves past 7:30. So it is a very, very long wait for them to be able to do what they were set out to do behind a booth. The other thing too, I feel for the food section, it was a missed opportunity. I know the Good Food Project would have shown up and they would have probably had a whole kit caboodle. Instead, we ended up with like a lot of leftover food. You know what I mean? Like that I definitely enjoy the cheese to take home as well. I get it. But I do believe that next year it would be really cool to see them come by, because it opens up the subject of food insecurity, something that many people are experiencing more and more. The other thing too, like again, it's the panel and you know, because again, it's the third town hall that I participate in. I always feel when we have a panel discussion, sure, this is a great opportunity for the business units to discuss of what they do, but it's also the fact that members of the public feel like they're being spoken at, right? Like I really feel like it should be something where people are coming in to share something about themselves that could maybe broaden the scope for what these business units are. Because again, they're in their office, they don't really meet people one-on-one. The only awkward thing I would say is one audience participant giggled about, hey, I've been telling you for years about this solution, but you're not listening, but I love you anyway. It's a bit trauma bond-ish, and it's a little uncomfortable in my opinion. And I really do believe that business units should kind of see who they're really working for. Like, you know what I mean? Like there's a bit of a power problem, and I'm finishing my term in this committee, and this is the one thing I've noticed, there is a serious power problem happening amongst many business units, but I still give props to people like Max Chauvin, who really, he's one person that you really feel like you are being listened to, that he also offers so much great information and insight. So yeah, I'm just looking again, just making sure, because again, I don't want to go too at long length, but again, even after event, before and after, it was wonderful to have spoken and met a lot of people after, but it's like regrettable because there were so many people I would have wanted to have mingled with, but didn't get the opportunity because we didn't have that before opportunity. If we had the library from 3 o'clock to 8:30-ish, you know what I mean? Like, it's missed opportunity. It's not that hard to set up. I'm really sorry. I'm sticking to that opinion. I have actually last summer set up my own show with the same crowd count of 50 people, not to shine and brag or anything. I'm just saying, I don't like being told that things can't be done when I've already done it. It sounds cocky, but I really do believe that, you know, we need to listen to the library itself. They're very equipped to do many things, and I think we should take advantage of it. So that's my say.
Thank you, Celine. Next up is Glenn Babcock.
Okay, well, I'm on by phone, so I'll just turn my camera on for the moment. My comments will be quite limited. In the end, I wasn't able to attend in person, so I was really only able to join in and remotely watch the Q&A session, which I thought flowed pretty well. There were a couple times I had some difficulty hearing some of the comments that were being made, but in general, the audio was good. I think the only comment I had was it seemed like it was over fairly quickly. I can't remember exactly how long it ran. I think it was at least 45 minutes to an hour, but it seemed like it could have gone on a lot longer and there could have been a lot more questions. But all in all, I enjoyed the part that I was able to participate in. Sorry, I missed out on all the food and getting to see everybody in person, but I thought it went quite well as a remote participant.
Thanks, Glenn. And I feel like that's also really useful feedback to have someone who attended online for like that perspective. So I super appreciate that. So thank you. Next up is Anne Sinclair.
Hi, thanks. Yeah, so a lot of similar comments coming from me. I really liked the panel. I thought that they were very considerate in what they chose to tell us. I'm thinking about what Celine just said about speaking at us, and I'm not sure that I agree with it. I didn't feel that at the time. I just appreciated the information I was getting, but I'll think a little bit more about what you said. And I thought that their answers during the Q&A, the panelists' answers were well considered, and they took the time and showed that they had listened, in my opinion. I thought the booths were really great. What I noticed was because the booths were there and there was that session going on, that a lot of people who weren't just hanging out at the booths, they were conversing with each other in smaller groups, and people who, like I had opportunities to talk to people who I've heard their names or been in online meetings and was able to speak with them in person. So that I really appreciated that time. I'm agreeing with others about that. So I'm flipping back now to the panel. I wish there had been more time for a Q&A. I don't know if there were more questions coming online or in person, but same as what Glenn just said, it felt really short. Like it felt like, oh, this is over already. So that's one thing. Oh, a thing about the booths, just physically speaking, I did notice that because of the columns that are in the space, that for example, at the accessibility directorate table, it was too tight between the column and the table. So I don't know if they could be moved back further, or if someone could just go through it. I noticed some people in power wheelchairs trying to get at that table, and there was another column further down. So that's just a setup issue. But overall, I thought it was wonderful. And thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Anne. That's great. Good point about the columns. Sometimes those things get missed, don't they? Next up is Jamil.
All right. For me, I think the highlights of the town hall was really the food and the ability to mingle with people afterwards. I think it was great. You could see some people who were just like floating around to see what's going on. They picked up some stuff. I picked up some stuff. I took some, took them home with me. I haven't read through them yet, but I think in that regards, the town hall was a great success. I'm going to echo a lot of people's comments about timing. I was the timer during the town hall. And I was surprised at how quickly 3 minutes was going by when it was given to both a question and an answer period. And I thought that the whole point of being at this town hall was that the public was going to interact with city, with different, business units from within the city and get, the ability to air out their concerns or tell the city what they're doing well. And then hopefully like see some progress, but I'll actually, agree with Celine here where I was like, all I saw from the representatives of the business units were, I hear you, it sucks, and they move on to the next question, right? Like that's all I got out of that. I was actually quite disappointed in the representation there. I do not think, especially when you would see time and time again, and people who specifically require mobility aids or accessible parking, or there's construction happening, and the response was, "Oh, but we are patrolling to make sure that everything is up to code and up to standard." And in that regards, I was like, okay, well, the issue has come up 4 or 5 times now, and there's only 10 questions. So what do you mean you are patrolling? Because it doesn't seem like you are patrolling, and it does not seem like things are actually being responded to or actually done properly. And there were times where people were like, oh, but they played this politic game of like, this is the Canadian standard that we must meet, and so therefore we have this rigid line that we cannot, move past. But like, if you are the business unit and you are the representation of the city for the this business unit from within the city, how can you carry these concerns in order to move this forward so that we alter these guidelines to fit people's needs? Like, for example, I recall a specific question from someone who was visually I think blind, right? Visually impaired or blind. And I think the question was, I can't go diagonally from one end of the street to the other end of the street, and there is construction that is currently diagonal on this road. And the response was, well, we patrol typically, the construction's almost done, and we are meeting these specific standards. And I was kind of baffled at that response, because I was like, this person is honestly, they are airing to you their safety and their livelihoods being impaired by specific roadblocks in the city. And it's a game of like, I hear you, I understand it's difficult. Okay, next question. And I think like in reality, I would have expected at least, I did not feel like the representation there was there to actually listen to the members as much as they were there to check off the list because they were asked to show up, because it is part of their mandate to show up when the public is there, right? And I don't know how to bring this up, and I don't know what we can do from here to change that. But I think this really needs to be something that is spoken about on a more serious level. I understand no one wants to be there and continue working their workday from 6 to 8 p.m., but we are also there as volunteers, volunteering our time for the betterment of the city, right? Like, we are there volunteering our hours. And so I think it's, at least show us the respect that we are also putting in, and all of this effort that we are putting in to show up and take time out of our own day. Because in reality, no one wants to sit in a town hall from 6 to 8 p.m. And I don't like see people like jumping for joy for that, right? But we are all here because we have like a personal responsibility to sort of like make sure that our city is going in the direction that we want to see it go. So I think in the future, I would love to see, you know, I submitted an anonymous question earlier during the town hall, and I still have not received anything yet from it. I actually forgot that I submitted something because I just got so busy afterwards. I was like, oh, right, I did submit something. So I'm like, I would love to see more feedback and more follow through after the town hall. Not the town hall during was fantastic. Obviously, like we need more time for questions and answers, but I would love to see people who are there who are not just there to check off a list item off their day to be like, I did it, I listened, you know, I was the pressure release valve for this 2 hours, I took the hit, and now I can just go back to my day job and not address these concerns, right? I feel like there should be some form of like accountability from like us as the advisory committee to follow through with these business units to be like, listen, these things, specifically accessible parking, was brought up multiple times. What is the next step, and how are we planning on moving forward with it? But besides that, the cheese was great, and I really appreciate everyone seeing everyone there and meeting everyone for the first time. And I hope I'll reapply for next year. Thanks.
Thanks, Jamil. Next is Nick.
Thanks. Excuse me. And yeah, echo a lot of what has already been said. I think, it's part of my kind of continually going back is the intention setting. And I think that helps answer potentially like how we focus the panel and how we focus the Q&A and how we focus the flow of the event, is really like, what is our committee's intention of the town hall? Is it a sounding board for business units to share? Is it purely to hear from people? Is it to get information out to people? Like, what is the purpose? And so again, maybe for next year, we do a little bit more of that wayfinding as a committee. But I think that helps answer of, okay, maybe it's less about the business units presenting and more about here are the business representatives, and it's all Q&A, and that's the focus. Yeah, so just like that's kind of like the basis of my comments. I think overall it went really well for what it was. Nice attendance. I would have loved to see more people join online. So I think if there's anything that we can do in the future, I'm probably also going to just like merge all my feedback. So as annoying as that is, I think like if there's anything we can do to better get that information out to people, like it really would be nice to have more folks come. And I think also part of that is maybe that intention setting and that kind of like reputation that it's an event of value, and it's something that people want to come to because they see there's a purpose in them coming. And I worry that some of that is lost a little bit, whether that's historically lost, whether that's just people, I mean, rightfully so, are upset with the system. And so some people will come out and voice that, and some people just get shut down and don't engage. So I think there's maybe some work for us to do to figure out what we as a committee have capacity to kind of help expand because it would be nice to see those numbers up. Again, I think it's great for what it is. The event itself went really well. Some suggestions maybe is not go one-on-one or like one-to-one on online versus in-person questions, just because I think there was some chatter with some community members about this too, of the ratio of in-person versus online. Like I think there needs to be like whether it's a 2-to-1 ratio, like if there's more people online versus in person, that we're kind of like, we got through all the online questions. We didn't get through all the in-person questions. And so it is that hard thing of like, obviously we want to value the 1-to-1 in terms of like everybody who's showing up, period. But I think just thinking like there was like 9 or 10 people, I think, registered to do online versus like the 50 to 60 people in the room. So just wanting to make sure that there's kind of like an adjustment for that as well. And maybe it's a 2-to-1 in person of just getting people in the room through the questions. Yeah, I think those are some of the key things. Personally, I like the booths afterwards. I think, again, it depends on the purpose of it. But I think the flow of like getting people into their seats, having kind of the Q&A panel, and then having the booths to kind of like debrief afterwards was quite nice. I get like, and I saw some of the comments come through an email too, of that like there wasn't really like a natural end to the event. Like it kind of just like petered out. And so, you know, something to consider whether we need a hard stop, whether the hard stop is the panel, and then people kind of like mingle as happened this year. I think there were some really nice organic conversations. I think people that didn't get answers were able to then have discussions at the tables. And again, like comes back to the intention setting of like, if we want to hear from people, if we do both booths before and after, like I think there are different dynamics that brings up as well that we just have to talk through and plan around. And part of that is if we as an organization or as a committee want to hear from people and have that loop in through us, if that helps, again, if the intention is this helps our planning, our work planning of what our priorities are for a committee, we do lose our connection to the group by having a bigger focus on booths versus like bigger sharing and bigger connection and bigger Q&A. Not to say that one is better over the other, just again, putting that out there as some thoughts that came to mind. Yeah, I think maybe those are some of the key things. Like again, overall, I think it went great. I think we can continue to have a great event moving forward. I think there's some pieces to really kind of potentially hone in on. And again, for me, as I mentioned, it comes back to like, what is the actual purpose of this? And then how do we really hyper focus on achieving that goal? Because it can't be everything. Like there are limitations of like what it can and can't be. In terms of like, again, what is the purpose of it? Again, if the purpose is an and both, then I think we, you know, run with that and we plan it and we do things accordingly. But I think, yeah, if our purpose is to hear from people, we should really be focusing on that, not delivering content. And maybe the delivery of content is through the engagement at the booths, and that's where they deliver things. Or it's that there's a little bit, there's more time, or the business units have less time or more constraints. Oh, one thing I would like to mention too, and I don't know if we do this, but if there's a better prepper for the presenters of like what to consider like sharing. I thought like there was a couple of presenters that were super great at like describing themselves and like introducing themselves and doing that kind of like descriptive visual description. Like some people like really like out of the park, like 10 out of 10. And then other people just like glaze past and didn't do it. And so I think just consistency's sake for us, that might be something we want to like consider what our standards are for people coming to present and share that with the business units. Obviously we can't force people to do it. But like, I don't know that we necessarily did like hey, these are like the things that you should consider doing, because that helps it make it more accessible for people who maybe have a visual impairment or maybe have you know, different things where they visually can't see or have trouble processing what they see or those kinds of things. So just wanted to put that other like little piece in there. I think those are the main things for me.
Great, thanks, Nick. I am next on the speakers list. I wanted to just quickly summarize some of the like main points that I thought were like similar to each other from what the counselors who couldn't be here had said. But like it's in an email to everyone, so I'm just going to summarize some of the main points because I think that like they are also related to what other people are talking about, and I feel like that is important. One of the things was about like printed programs, which like, yeah, or even having something that's like screen reader accessible, just having more like sort of physical information for attendees. I think that Councillor Saint-Amand had said that they talked about the length of the panel and how it like maybe was the like panel was too long, but the questions were too short. That sort of also coming up again. Also, the order of events, which we've also discussed this evening. So just wanted to echo that again. Something else that came up that I found interesting from both of the counselors who emailed was around stopping attendees from answering questions like by attendees, which, as I think both Jamil and Celine were talking, I was like, it's like, you know, if the answers that the staff are giving are kind of like basic and not really an answer, and the attendees like have an answer, even if it's not necessarily the most accurate one, I think that like that's probably why there's been this, like, you know, if we're saying that like attendees shouldn't answer the questions, but they know the answer and the panelists don't, I feel complicated about being like, no, I'm cutting off the attendees from answering the question if they know the answer to the question. So, and also thinking about how like, is the thing that the panelists say always 100% accurate? Like, we're really like, and I don't know, like they didn't specify. And actually that was one of the things I wish that they were here. And I don't know if maybe Trish, like you also have some idea about this being a counselor, but like, is there a specific reason that attendees can't answer the questions of the other attendees? Because that wasn't specified. So that is something I might want to follow up with later. Because if it's just about accuracy, like we're really just trusting that the panelists are accurate in their answers too. And we don't necessarily know for sure. So that was just something that I was thinking about. And so I wanted to also like attend to that. In terms of my own stuff, I've been to many town halls at this point. I thought this one went pretty well. I was really happy about the like booth time. I thought that it was like, for me, having seen like several town halls now, I felt like it was the most like high energy and like excitable that I have seen like of a town hall in my, I want to say like 5 or 6 years being on this committee. And like being to multiple town halls over the years, I was like, oh, like that's like the winner of this event to me. Yeah, and it seemed like the staff who were there also really enjoyed it, and I'm excited to see their feedback because I think that'll be really useful in hearing like what they talked about with people individually. Definitely agree with the placement of the Q&A table. It's been put in different places over the years, but I think that it won't be anonymous unless we offer an actual anonymous option for it. And I wonder about like offering some sort of technology for that, of just being like, if you have an anonymous question, here's like a form you can link to, like right from the get-go, like when people are coming in, kind of being like, here's the thing. Yeah, like we've talked about Slido before, even like just a QR code that takes you to like some question, and then it like goes to a form, and that form is like able to be accessed live by I mean, like in this case, Elizabeth, because you were the one who was sort of like looking at the online questions. So it kind of going into the same place as the online questions in a sense. It would also give people time to like submit questions ahead of time if there was something specific they wanted to know about. I think also how we do Q&A will depend on if the panel changes in like vibes and theme next year. Like if we're gonna still have like the staff, like the business units present versus just say like, hi, I'm here, I work for this place, what questions do you have for me? So I think like the Q&A structure will change a little bit based on the structure of the panel itself. So that's just something to keep in mind for later on down the road. I want to shout out, I know we were all be talking about the food and we're really excited about it. I can't remember if this was like brought up out loud at any point, but New Leaf like catering, New Leaf Enterprises, I can't remember their exact name, but they are an organization predominantly run by and for people with disabilities. So like that's who made our food. And I feel like that was like, if it hadn't been mentioned, important to mention. Yeah. So I was extra excited about the food because it was from New Leaf, or at least part of it was, if I'm not mistaken. If maybe not all of it, but we had talked to like, there was something that I think got brought up like last second at the end of a meeting once. And I don't know if it ever was publicized. So that, thinking about the timing also, like I know one of the reasons, because there was a few reasons we decided not to do the booths before the panel. Oh yeah, all of the food, including the bottled water, was from New Leaf. Hell yeah. Yeah, one of the reasons, amongst others, that we decided to not do the panel not do the booths before the panel as well, was because we were meant to be doing like tech and like mic checks and stuff. But what ended up happening, like I never did a mic check. My mic was checked by like the captioning people. And I don't know if it was just where I was sitting, like at the table, but I had a really hard time hearing what every single presenter was saying. And so it could have just been like where I was sitting in the room, but I kept having to look up at like the live captioning. But if it was just me, then it was just me. Although I think Glenn also mentioned that hearing was a little bit difficult as well. So I think like if we're gonna make time for the tech check, like we asked people to be there early, we wanted them to do the mic checks. They should, this is like for the tech crew, I guess, that they should oh yes, thanks Oliver for being here, and thank you for adding some extra notes at the end. Yeah. Oh, what else was I going to say? Oh, yes, that if we're going to like set aside time for mic checks, that like the people who are using the mics should be doing the mic checks. Also, like people need to be told where in the mic they talk into. I feel like people are really afraid of the microphone, or they think if they have a microphone, they can talk very quietly, like they're next to somebody, but like you still got to use your projection voice. So I feel like that needed to be addressed like beforehand. And that was kind of the purpose of us like having some of the schedule be the way that it was, but then it ended up like the tech people didn't do that in the end. They just checked it themselves. So I feel like that was like a missed opportunity for a tech check. Was there anything else that I had? Oh, also just want to echo something that Celine was saying about having like multiple doors. Yeah, that like if people want to leave, they kind of have to like cross the panel to do it. And yeah, it's like a same with like where the Q&A table is focused, just finding options for people to not feel like they are trapped or that they have to like stay in one place all the time. So yeah, those are the things that I was thinking about personally, at least like, you know, I feel like I was really like, my brain was very being overutilized in that evening. So those are the things that like I was taking in during the evening, and also sort of just building off what other folks are saying. I do want to offer another go around through like of the speakers list. And funny that you have your hand up, Trish, because you are first on the speakers list now. So you go ahead.
Wow, I was just thinking, I forgot totally. One of the big highlights for me was Rochelle, your emceeing, you're chairing that whole thing. You were really, really good. And like you kept it on point, you kept it forward moving, you kept it very positive. So I thought you did such a good job, and you really set the tone for the whole evening. And on that point, I think with my colleagues' comments about like eliminating crosstalk from recipients, that's how town halls can go sideways. So I think it can go sideways if there's crosstalk allowed, but it didn't at all that night because you were a really good chair and you were keeping everyone on point. So I think it really has to do with the topics and whether the chair can keep control of the meeting, and also you know, all of the above. So it went really, really good for us, but at other town halls, that's how things can go completely sideways. So I think that might be, I mean, I can't speak for my colleagues, but that could be one of the, like, why they brought that up as a concern, a potential concern. Okay, thank you. That's all I want to say.
Cool. Thanks, Trish, and thanks for the nice compliment. I appreciate that. Celine, go ahead.
Great, thank you, Chair. Yeah, actually, what came to mind, and I actually even want to double down at what Jamil said about Slido. That would probably be a really great app to utilize, and I've used it before in the past, and I actually really do think that really gives an ability for anonymity. The one thing that I would kind of propose, because again, like we had select business units appear and show up at our event. It's very different than the panel that was in 2023, because we didn't have it in 2024 due to the election. But back then we had housing and homelessness director. We had just a different flavor. So it became like a different subject. It was awesome that Access a Bus was there and Public Works was there, because a lot of about crosswalks and even just use of bus service was there. And that's feels like that's what shaped the event. The one thing I would propose, because often enough, some business units may be intimidated by the idea of showing up, because there's a level of accountability that can can happen. And I could even say low key, if you had a booth before the show and then you had members of the public come in, right? Like there was a bit of a gatekeep having such a nice curtain, keeping the public from coming up to the booths to have a direct conversation before the panel. One thing that I would say, having a program is a brilliant idea. What would be good? And I think this would encourage other business units to want to show up, because if we make a list of what are the business units in the HRM, like really give the public a guide, like here's your guide to accessibility with the HRM. Here are your main business units. This is what they take care of. This is what their number is, type stuff. Like this would give a chance for people that even if we didn't have a business unit present, it's still a place where we get to discuss how is the HRM, you know, moving us forward in an accessibility. Now, when we go to things like, let's say, the Accessibility Directorate, the one greatest part of conversation that I had with them is that most often in this province of Nova Scotia, HRM included, we get funding, but we are not verified. Like these places are not verified enough of whether or not they're really going through, they're really doing what they are funded to do. And this goes back to Anne's question about my response to saying it just felt like very surface. It felt like the panel's talking to them. Reason is that for the last 4 years, I attended several inclusivity talks and everything. And everyone that is kind of like an organization are always recycling we're inclusive. We're listening to family. They're always saying like I could practically lip sync through some of these meetings. And it's almost like, but what else do you do? Right? Like it never goes deep. And for me right now as an advocate, I feel like we're not given enough information to really be able to even hold them accountable, because that's what I mean. Like there's always some vagueness. There's always oh yeah, we're looking at that. I mean, especially for public works, like, you know, we've discussed this, like, I think a year ago about the fact that infractions are just not strong enough on construction companies, and that doesn't hold them accountable enough. And so that's what I mean. Like, it just feels like there's a lot of issues that we have in the HRM with accessibility that are systemic, that can date back to way back like 20 years ago. And they're still looking at the answer. And to me, I find that incredibly frustrating. For the Q&A table, I don't think we even had a sign that said Q&A table, come and see us. But the second thing I could say, again, about the program guide, we could actually have a sheet with Q&A, with the Q&A at the back or slipped inside the program, and then direct to what boxes. There could be boxes at the back that we could come and pick up, you know, the sheets. So that could lend to that. The one thing that would be really cool to have start this Q&A event, especially because I really do feel Q&A should really be the focus, not as much like, again, making a presentation. However, I'm kind of going to contradict myself, but it would be cool that we would have kind of a montage of video to kind of show what the HRM is about in accessibility, etc. Right? And the other thing too, you know, as I was saying, there's a bit of a power problem. The thing that I really enjoy about the Accessibility Directorate is that laws are legislation is happening, and accountability is going to increase, and they will have, like, business units, HRM business units, or just care organizations in general are going to have to show more of what they're actually doing and explain why some things are taking too long, right? So, but again, I'm still doubling down. I still think this event could start earlier. When we're talking about sound checks can happen in chaos. Like, again, I always feel cocky when I say this. Yeah, sound checks, I've done this before, but I have. So that's why I'm just sitting here frustrated. It's like, this wasn't a problem. Why was it a problem? You know, like, and good sound check crews knows how to do this while there's a crowd like talking away. In fact, that might help them even better know what they're up against. Because the other thing I wanted to point out to you, Rochelle, is that the Paul Regan Hall does have some issues with acoustics. It's not just you. it's actually known. Sometimes you will have a hard time when you're in the panel, because I've been explained this before by attendees of previous events, that sometimes you're not going to be able to hear the other panel. So just to kind of help you out with that. So anyways, other than that, yeah, thank you for this, for letting me have a chance to speak.
Well, thanks, Celine. All right, next on the list is, well, I see, Anne, that your hand is up. So I'll go to Anne and then I'll go back to Glenn after. So go ahead, Anne.
Oh, yeah. Hi, thanks. Oh, sorry, I didn't know we were going around in order again, but anyway, it seems like we're heading into what could be a very fruitful and helpful discussion about what's going to happen next and how do we make the most of all the things that went on and how do we capture all the questions that didn't get answered and the questions that did get answered. And I say we, and that's part of my question. What's the responsibility of our committee to do some of this important work? And is there a list? Will there be a list? It'd be great if there was a list of what the main questions were. And for the people who have been there at previous town halls who've said some of the same questions keep getting asked, if those questions could get highlighted as well. And then maybe in the next town hall, they can say, here's what we heard, and here's how we've answered it. So people know that there's some people are listening and some actions being taken. So if there could be like what we heard document, I don't know where it goes. I see Oliver has said that it would be helpful to keep open logs of the questions made at the town hall. So maybe that's one mechanism. I didn't expect the panelists to have answers to every question at all. I didn't mind that they said, we will look into it. But now that they've said that, what's the next step for ensuring that they've looked into it? Is it us? Is it our agenda item? Is it staff? Like that kind of, those are some of the questions for overall, how do we make the best of everything that was gained and listened to and heard? Thank you.
Thanks, Anne. And I should have said at the beginning of this, I wrote a note to myself and then I forgot to say it, that at the, well, like what is happening now and like this conversation and the town hall is what we're using to create our 2026 work plan. We're just not starting the work plan until January. So like we have a responsibility to the community as a committee, and then also we're trying to like keep accountability of the business units who have also said that they're going to do something. Like they have a responsibility too. So yeah, I probably should have mentioned that ahead of time also. Yeah, and I think, I mean, like the minutes from the event like do have like partially a running list of like the questions and the commentary, but and we'll talk about this shortly, kind of like after we do the second go around. But I did want to bring it up now just in case that we are sending a survey out to the business units who had booths to see like what like common questions were and like other things. And we are going to ask for feedback on like the other things that are going in the survey. But one of the questions that we've been talking about that I think Nick suggested was around like what were the common themes that you were hearing from community members. So that can also be part of our work plan creation. So just to name that, that like there is an expectation for us to like take what we heard at the town hall and actually do something with it so that like we are accountable to the community that we claim to be as well. And that like we're a part of too. So yeah, so thanks for bringing that up and reminding me that I keep forgetting to mention it. It's literally in my notes.
No, that's all great. No apologies required, but it's good. Thanks.
Cool.
Sounds
Thank
like
you.
a lot of good work coming up.
Yeah, I think so. We're going to do great. Cool. I'll turn it back over to Glenn if you have anything else to add.
Well, due to my limited participation, I don't really have too much to add, because I did hear someone, one of our counselors commented on it, and I know I sent you a message before, but since I watched the Q&A, probably the only member from the committee that I really got to watch in action was you, and I did send you some positive comments afterwards for your role as an MC. So I'll take the opportunity in front of the whole group to say that I thought you did a great job as an MC as well. But really, I don't have too much more to add at this point.
Thanks, Glenn. I did appreciate that email. That was nice after a very long day and a long event. I do appreciate it. Thank you. Okay, next up is Jamil.
Thanks. I think fantastic. I really appreciate the acknowledgement that we also have a part, like we have a part in this. You know, we're not just here to also air our comments and questions about this. We are representing our communities as well. So, you know, whether or not I'm here in the next year, I would love to see not all of this just fall on the head of the chair and or the representative of the city that's in the calls with us on a regular basis. And I think we should start establishing, you know, from these conversations and from these town halls, specific tasks that people should start taking on as parts of their responsibilities to the committee. Because I think, you know, just based on I've only joined the committee like for 6 months now, and part of it was the summer, so we really didn't do much, right? I find that my responsibilities really start and end when, you know, I get the agenda, I review the meeting like structure, and then I'll show up for 2 hours in a month and then not show up again until the next month, right? And so there's a full month in between where I'm not asking for 20 hours of work a week, right? But maybe something that is like, okay, here is your specific task. Can you follow up and try to get a response from said business unit member by next conversation, or give us an update on what, like where, like any clarifications or so. Smaller tasks, right? Like in a sense where there is still some continuity happening between like meetings. And I know well, we are members of the community, so really people should be listening to us, but like our powers, quote unquote, I will say this loosely, is limited versus like, well, someone who's like a politician or someone who gets paid to do this, right? And our capacities are limited, but that should be taken into account. So like, however, like I want to bring it forward that there should be some form of like responsibility and accountability towards us, given that we are also like this. I don't want to just take this off of my resume and be like, hey, I was a part of the advisory committee, and yeah, that was it. And what did you accomplish? And it's like, you know, I want to have like, ultimately, I want to know that one day that if I'm no longer here, that this will also continue to be a committee that moves forward and actually has meaningful change from within the city. So besides that, yes, great work as chair that evening. You did really well. And, you know, great work to everyone. I think it went really, really well. So thank you so much. And I really, you know, appreciate, I've been having a great time so far.
Cool. Thanks, Jamil. Next up is Nick. Anything else to add?
No, I don't think I have anything additional. I think, yeah, the current past points stand, and I agree with a lot of what the commentary is already happening. So
sweet, thank you. All right, I'm last on the list. I don't really have anything else to add. I think like I would just be reiterating other things that people have said. That being said, I do want to make sure that we have time to look at the proposed survey for member feedback, which is also technically part of the town hall debrief. So it's not like we're moving on to another agenda item. So yeah, Elizabeth, did you want to share? I don't know if sharing your screen is useful or something. But yeah, we have a survey that is going to go out to all of the staff who were involved, both like panelists and booth people, just to hear about like their feeling of how it went. Yeah, and then also one of the questions is like, you know, what were you hearing about so far? But we also like want feedback from the whole committee, so that's what the next little bit of time is going to be about. So yeah.
So I can share that on my screen. Just one second. Is that good?
Yep.
Okay.
Maybe a little bigger, actually.
Okay.
Cool.
Okay.
That's good.
Okay.
That's good for me. I don't know.
Okay.
I think that's good.
Okay. So I'll just go question by question. The first one is, how did you participate in the town hall? What are your thoughts on the 2025 AAC town hall overall. The third question there was what aspects of the town hall did you like most? Did you like the most? The fourth question, is there any information you wish you had provided prior to the event? 5, are there any changes you would like to see at future town halls? 6, briefly share any main or reoccurring topics discussed during booth conversations with community members. And 7, if you have any thoughts, please share them below. I don't know, that just seemed like the easiest way to maybe go through the questions so everyone could kind of get a refresh of what was on that document.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I could go through the speakers list, but I feel like this is maybe like if someone has something to add, because like Nick and I have already seen this, although Nick, you are welcome to also share things. But yeah, if anyone has anything to add, feel free to just like, I don't know, turn on your mic, raise your hand, whatever feels right. I feel like this doesn't have to be as formal as we usually go with this, because it's just like, if you got something, then share it. Yeah, go ahead, Trish.
I don't have feedback specific. These good questions, but did we do this last year? Is this like is this what we do every year? Do we send a survey for feedback?
That might be a question for Melissa. Do you know if a survey was ever sent from the committee to staff before, or potentially the chair as well?
This would be the first year of us doing.
Okay, so that's excellent. So my feedback is great idea. That's really, really good. I think we'll get good feedback from this survey.
Cool, thank you. Go ahead, Jamil.
I just wanted to maybe in 2 separate questions. There was a question that asked what was something that you liked about the town hall, and what did you like the most about the town hall? I think we should also, like, because this could be biased to almost be like only looking for the good feedback, to be like, what was something that you disliked about the town hall? And it doesn't have to be something that it's like a requirement to answer, because most of these are required to answer in order to fulfill the survey, but to give some people the ability to like specifically ask what was something that you disliked, so that they can maybe stop to think about it and then add their response. Because, you know, I know there are other questions that are like, well, do you have anything that you would like to share? And for some people, it might not come up until later after they've submitted the survey, but when specifically asking them something that you may have disliked to receive like some feedback, I think that would be very helpful as well.
Great. Yeah, I like a what is it called? Apples and onions, like that vibe of like what did you like? What did you not like? Like there is an element of like, are there any changes that you would like to see? But I mean, generally in my own debriefs, I agree. I do like to have all 3 of those options, or in like my evaluation pieces. So that's good. Thank you. Any other thoughts from folks? Go ahead, Celine.
Maybe have like a rating, like from 1 to 10, how satisfied were you with this and that, you know, just to kind of help with specifics maybe. You know, because maybe they want to add more than one thing, but then they're exhausted. But I want to mention this, but if it was already like rated from 1 to what, and then they get to be a little bit more creative with writing an extra answer into something they care more, right? Because it could get exhausting, because obviously we have about this much of layout to answer to. So that would be my 2 cents.
Oh yeah. So do you mean like for like every question having the option for like just a simple Likert scale, or like a more informative response?
Let's say,
or just like
okay,
some of them?
Oh yeah, in my mind here, I'm trying to scroll up, but let's just say like, probably it would have to be rewritten in a certain way, like not saying you guys have to start right all over, but you know, like how connected did you feel with members of public? You know, neutral, like not satisfied, neutral, satisfied, very satisfied, right? Like that would be one thing for sure, because like, again, we have booths that are connecting with members of the public. It would be kind of cool to see how did this business unit feel connected with members of public. So kind of rating of either 1 to 10 or dissatisfied, neutral, satisfied, very satisfied. So it kind of gives you a better idea, maybe like, but I think it would be like a matter, because again, I can't scroll up and down at the moment, but yeah, I mean, maybe see it as things like that, like how, and it may even help them be a little bit more, how can I say, less shy about mentioning this. Like, how did you feel received at the town hall, like at the city hall? Satisfied, neutral, very satisfied. You never know. Maybe someone is going to be, you know, not satisfied, and then it's going to give you at least an idea. Because here it kind of, you know what I mean? It doesn't get. There's not enough nuance that you can really answer to these questions. So it kind of at least gives you that idea.
Right. Yeah.
I hope that makes it clear.
Yeah. Like having, sometimes if like an option for an answer is presented to you in the survey, you're more likely to be able to answer it versus like, I don't want to tell them they did a bad job. This isn't very anonymous. They know who I am.
Well, that's another thing too, is this going to be submitted anonymously, or like, will there be a form where they don't really need to, you know, because that's the other thing too, eh? Like, we don't really get to be transparent. Like, you're walking on eggshells because you're working for the HRM, and this is also a committee with the HRM, right? So I don't know. Like, these are very basic questions, you know, and I'm not slamming it. They're very important questions to ask, but I just feel like if you want to give it more meat, maybe think of giving scales for people to answer in scales as well, like a blend of both, right? Like where they can write, but also that they can at least give, because I know a lot of forms that I have to submit for postmortem they usually look like that. And I actually like how it is, and it doesn't need, it makes you not have to say why. You know what I mean? If you wanted to go not dissatisfied, you don't have to explain.
Yeah, that's true. Cool. Thank you. I don't know, Elizabeth, if you've anything to add or say about that. I just noticed your mic was off, so I wanted to check in. Or your mic was on.
Oh, sorry, I didn't necessarily mean to turn my mic on, but I guess like based on these suggestions is the plan that we as staff will kind of edit the survey to kind of meet what was proposed during this conversation, and then we'll send it, or I could send it back to the committee for approval.
Sure.
I know we
like
really
a final
outline an
draft.
approval. Yeah, like a final draft before it's sent to staff. Okay. And then Celine, I could send you, or I guess anyone, I can send an email afterwards, just like those kind of rate on a 1 to 10 scale questions, like what questions you would like to see.
There's one, because I actually have to go soon, but there's one thing that does come to mind, like, because we are talking about like, hey, should we have just booths at the end or booths at the beginning or both before and after type stuff? So maybe just even ask the business units, like a multiple choice, like what would you, next year's participation, what preference do you have? You know, like, because there's that. But the other thing too is kind of to look at, a lot of them had to show up at 5 o'clock to set up, but then they had nothing to do for 2 hours. No, wait, 2.5 hours. If actually even 2 hours and 40 minutes, you know? So there's that too. Like I think these things should be brought up, because then we can know if we're fulfilling their needs and their needs are being met and that they want to come back. But again, I got to get going, but it's nice chatting with y'all. And I don't know if I'm creeping back again. You never know. I said I wasn't coming back again, but you never know. I don't know yet.
Thanks, Celine.
I'm going to leave it to mystery.
Cool. I'm just counting again to see if we still have quorum. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oops. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yes, we still have quorum. Although we are about to finish anyway, so it's probably not the end of the world. We don't have to make any more decisions, I think. Any other thoughts or feelings or additions, subtractions? I think trying to keep, how many questions are in the survey now? Probably trying to keep the survey to like under like 10 or under questions to me feels like the right way to go. Just as like my own thought process for it. Right now it's 7, so if we are adding some stuff, just to still like keep it as minimal as possible. Above that, I think it's like this is an exam now, and I don't know if people are going to answer it or like answer it as meaningfully as if they have less time to do so, or less if they need less time to do so. Yeah, cool. Well, I mean, I don't want to be the last person to speak if there is. Oh, cool. Great. Thanks, Nick. Cool. Okay. So if there's no other thoughts, feelings, questions, in the agenda or in my agenda, it says that the next date of the meeting is TBD, but we did decide it. So the next meeting is going to be January 19th. In January, we're going to start working on the 2026 work plan. So keep in mind the stuff that we discussed today, things that were brought up in the town hall. Hopefully the HRM staff will like also be filling out the survey soon, and then we'll have that information to go from to for the town hall or for the work plan, I mean. And then we can really like make us do stuff and it can feel good and meaningful and awesome. So I feel excited about that. I love getting to work on the work plan. Yeah. And I think like information about the work plan will go out before that meeting, probably in not too long, so that we have like some time to think about what we want that to look like. And yeah, there's nothing in December. So before we adjourn, like, hope everybody has a nice December. I hope that it is somewhat relaxing. I feel like lots of people get breaks in December, but not everybody gets breaks in December. So if you get to relax, I hope it's relaxing and restful. And now I will ask for a mover to move this meeting to adjournment. And we only need a mover. We don't even need a seconder. Thanks, Jamil. Moved by Jamil. And the meeting ends at 5:32. I don't know if I have to say the end meeting time, but I did. So we did
Always
it.
helpful.
Yay. Great for the notes. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. See you.
Talk to you in the new year.
Yes. Yeah. Happy New Year. Forgot about that. What happens in December? The New Year.